The Rugby League Hour, brought to you by MicroBio Solutions Limited, makers of Effluix, the new way to clean up dairy effluent and wastewater while increasing the fertiliser value of your irrigation in one easy step. Visit microbio.co.nz for more.
Strong, powerful, try!
3:04 time. Welcome to the show, people. The Rugby League Hour. My name is Martin Devlin. Alongside me,
I'm Tony Kemp, and glad to be here, Marty.
It rolls like this. Six quick questions to start with. The weekend roundup. We go up the wires. He's a ledge. Danny Buderus joining us today, head to head, debating topics du jour. Tony does his top five, and of course the cleanup awards. Kicking it. In no particular order, but was that the worst performance this year from the Warriors?
Worst 20 minutes.
Can the Warriors still make the 8?
I'm going to give him a yes, Marty, at the moment.
Thank you for that. Have you given up on your boy Benji Marshall yet?
No, and I'm not going to.
Are you going to give up, though, on the Cowboys who've lost 5 in a row?
Yeah, they can't. They can't win a comp with a D like that.
Can the Roosters win it all?
Yes, they can.
Okay, the Sharks, are they the best team in the NRL right now?
Well, you'd have to say beating Melbourne, even though they're
The weekend roundup.
Let's go through the results from Thursday night, people. Dolphins against the Sea Eagles.
Well, he just keeps getting better, Bennett.
Panthers over the Doggies, just.
Panthers versus the Panthers. They got to win.
Broncos bounce back against your Eels.
Oh, they're gone. Bring back Ray Price.
West Tigers losing to the Knights. Knights 3 in a row without Kalen.
Wobbly, the Tigers.
Dragons beat the Rabbits. Are the Rabbits going to win another game?
Well, I'm going to say Flanagan. He's the answer.
Sharks up over the Storm.
What a disgrace from the referee.
Roosters dicking the Warriors.
Should have been 60.
And the Titans given up a 20-point lead, but they still beat the Cowboys.
Yeah, I'll tell you, we're talking about old boys at halfback. What about Kieran Forens? Sign him.
Sharks, Panthers, Storm, Dolphins, Roosters, Broncos, Raiders, Sea Eagles. That is your 8 at the moment. I want to start first, though, with the team that played on Thursday night. And this is a Dolphins side that have now won 6 of 8. And when you go through the teams that they have beaten, they lost to North Queensland, they won against St George, they had a bye. They beat the Titans, they beat the Tigers, they lost to Brisbane, they beat the Eels, they lost to the Knights, then they beat North Queensland, and now they've beaten Manly. They are 6-3 top 4. How can you not say they're legit?
They're not legit top 4 because I don't think they'll beat a top 4 side. They won't beat...
Warriors didn't beat a top 4 side last year.
Well, and then they got the major semi and they got beaten up by Brisbane, didn't they? So I think the Dolphins are sort of in a similar boat than the Warriors were last year. The Eagles, you can't write them off. You cannot write them off. I know Trebojevic is out for a little while.
You're going gooey over Manly, mate. They've just given up 2 big leads back to back.
They're that close for getting it right. You know, I'm going to say the Roosters have taken over from the Sea Eagles as being the better team at the moment.
138 points in the last 3 games. Obviously, we're going to break it down and talk about the Warriors big time next. But that Roosters side, what did they show you in the 15 minutes where they scored 22 points?
Depth. You know, when you can go out with a side like that and bring Tupou back because they can't get rid of him, they can't sign the winger that they want. You get Dom Young on the other side. I told you last week, Marty, best right-hand pairing at centre wing in the competition at the moment. Joseph Manu plays for 20 minutes, closes shop, says, that's it, boys. You get the golden boot. That's what you can do. Play for 20 minutes and for the rest of the game, tie it up. And, yeah, the likes of Jared Waerea-Hargreaves, Crichton coming back like that. You know, the Butcher boys playing so well. And Radley, how's he tidied up his game? You remember, you normally see Radley's been sent off or at least been sin-binned every second game. I just think that Robinson and the news, what no one talked about was the news of Fafita and our good mate Daniel Anderson getting Fafita from underneath Penrith's nose to the Bulldogs.
Yeah,
that's the story.
It's a hell of a signing, isn't it? To the Roosters, you mean? He didn't go to the Bulldogs. Did he go to the Roosters? No, they don't. The Roosters didn't take him. He's gone to the Dogs. Fafita's gone to the Dogs. Roosters. Okay, sorry, you said the Dogs. A couple get fined. Kerry for his chicken wing, and also Crichton copped a fine also for the foot.
They got to fine him. They got to fine him. They got to give him something. You know what I mean? Because the referee, they should have done something in the game. Maybe put them both in the bin for 10. For 10 minutes. So they got to give him something. So they come up with a fine after the fact, mate. You might as well fine him 10 grand. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, so we lose Sean Johnson. He goes off the field and his pec's gone, and that guy gets a fine afterwards and doesn't go off. All right, let's talk about Jared Waerea-Hargreaves. His 300th appearance for the Roosters, 15 seasons for him, for them, and he's played a season before that. I think he played for the Tigers before that. Manly, was it? Okay, so you know this guy, you know him well. There are aspects to his game, of course, which, you know, You can argue a bit whether or not he goes over the top, but the fact is he's played 300 games for them. You can't judge him against the front rows from the past because those guys played 80 minutes. But in terms of the modern-day front row, where is he at?
He's right up there. In the NRL, he's struggled to be consistent across the next step up at international level. He's been in and out of the Kiwi side for many, many years and played okay in some of them and not so okay in others. But at the NRL level, he's right up there with the best that's running around. And Jared is the type of bloke that you would put in your team. He'd be first bloke on your team list. The character is absolutely superb about bringing guys together. He's a leader. He steps in when you need someone to step in. And of course, he plays in the toughest part on the football field, which is the middle of the park. So, I was really, really happy to see him run out with his wife and his 3 kids on the weekend, picking up his 300th game, and celebrating that. In the sense that he's got to 300. So he's a big part of them. I thought it was really smart by Trent Robinson too when he came off not to put him back on for a long period of time and just rest him up because he's going to need him come the back end of the year.
So I asked you that question to start with. The Roosters, can they win it all?
I think they can. I think if you look at it, you got to remember too that Teddy's playing for his Origin jersey. Tupou's an Origin player. Have a look across the board. They got players in that side that are players that make the next step, and everyone's been wondering why they haven't been able to do that in the last couple of years. He just seems to have got the mix right at the moment. Young Sam Walker and Cleary at 5'8", arguably you'd say over the last 2 to 3 weeks the best half pairing in the competition. So you put them together with the likes of Manu and Dom Young and Tedesco playing the way that he is. There's no wonder they've scored over 100 points in the last 3 games.
Manly have lost 2 from 2. They've given up big leads. I think it has all gone haywire since they drew with the Warriors and they dropped an 8-point lead in 63 seconds. What is it about them that they're just not quite there at the moment?
Daly Cherry Evans throwing intercept passes at the wrong time of the game.
He did that against the Warriors, remember, just before halftime.
He's doing it every week. And he needs to, like they've got no one there to sort of rein him in, taking his options. The one on the weekend when they intercepted and got back in the game, you're looking at, and it's that common thread, like, oh no, here I go and do it again, and all of a sudden go back into your shell. And, you got Cody Nikorima playing some good football at the moment, along with a lot of the old boys that are in that Dolphins side, and buoyant on the back of, Wayne Bennett, probably his last season with the club. So they've been the surprise package, the Dolphins. I think when you look at them, who are the biggest benefactor of the Dolphins? I think the NRL. If you look at them Brisbane crowds when they go and play, mate,
why don't you rate them like you rate the Roosters? The Roosters are 6-4. The Dolphins are 6-3. As I said, the Dolphins have won 6 out of 8.
Yeah, but I don't think the Dolphins can compete against the Storm, the Panthers, or the Sharks. You know what I mean?
Are those 3 teams? So, last year we had the Sharks, the Panthers, the Storm, right? Okay. Now, sorry, we had the Panthers, the Storm, and Broncos. Is these 3 teams, Sharks, Panthers, Storm, in your mind now that much better than everyone else? Because I'm going to go big time into the Storm Shark game in a second. But are those 3 teams above a level? I think you are starting to see a little bit of a break in the competition as far as who are the teams to catch and the teams that are going to sort of set your benchmark. And you got to look week in, week out. And you don't rate the Dolphins in that, do you? No, don't. I don't. I still don't. I think a bit of a false economy having them sitting there in the four. I'll take that false economy as a Warriors fan every bloody day, mate.
Yeah, but when you say, look, you've got to face the Storm, the Panthers, the Sharks, the Broncos, you probably say the Dolphins will lose those 4 games. So I don't think when it comes down to the back end of the season, they're looking like an 8 team. They haven't. I think, Marty, they're like the Warriors of last year. They're just having one of those years. Like Cody Nikorima, mate, he was a turnstile. And now when you can throw him the football, he's just on fire. The fullback that they got there, he's a late bloomer. He's on like, where do you put him? And you got to remember, no Fletcher, no Farnsworth in the side at all, and of course Fido, the speedster, he's been out for a few weeks as well. So they're doing it against all odds and sitting there in the 4. The question is, you do get those players back. Are they going to beat the top 3, top 4?
We'll talk big time about the Warriors in a few minutes, people. Any questions you want to ask to Tony about the Warriors and that 4th loss in a row? Danny Buderus is going to join us in about 15 minutes or so. So looking forward to that. And obviously there's a big Origin connection there. He's heavily involved and they've lost a hell of a lot of players. Okay, let's look. I watched this game on Saturday night. There were 2 fantastic Super Rugby games and then the Storm playing the Sharks. Melbourne, 14 wins in a row at Amy Park. They'd both won 5 on the trot coming in. Melbourne had conceded 3 tries in the last 3 weeks. It went 6-0, 6 or 12, 6-12 or 18-12, 18 or 19-18 and then that last try. But the first point of order, Harry Grant, the penalty for, I quote, dangerous action against the kicker. Daniel Atkinson, the young guy. Now, Sean Johnson milked this against Manly. We all agreed with that. But the game's got to sort itself out with the obstruction rule we talked about last week and this, where the kicker is letting that leg drag a little. Harry Grant barely touches him. He goes for 10 in the bin. Atkinson gives him a wink as he's going. I mean, there's a professional foul aspect coming into the NRL at the moment, which is, I don't like, it's unholy.
Well, you got to be careful how you benchmark decisions, you know. Like, if you're going to say there's a, you know, it's like this, Marty. Okay, you run into me and I'd have a high shot. And what the judiciary do is they give you a point system. They say, well, that's a 3, a 2, or 1. You know, it's a severity. It's a careless tackle. It was with intent, or he actually went to go out there and take his head off. With this benchmarking that they're doing with the current rules, there's no grey area.
No, not. It's you touch him, basically you're gone, right?
You know, you see, in the last 5 weeks, we've seen defenders attack the kicker. The kickers kick the ball. You look at the one, for instance, against the Cowboys last week. They go out, they chase down the fullback. He kicks it. The defender gets his foot. No penalty. Ball drops right in front of the post. Yet, a few weeks behind, Sean Johnson does it. Drops in front of the post. Gets 2 points. Wins the game. There's no grey area. And what's happening with the changing of these rules is NRL has to be really careful that they set these benchmarks that are just going to ruin the football game. They're going to ruin the football game. They didn't need to put Harry Grant in the sin bin for that.
I thought it was as soft as, wasn't it? There was, but they're making a hard and fast rule. They're saying if you touch the kicker now, so what does that mean? No charge downs anymore?
Well, that's exactly right. So you can't put any pressure on anybody. Like, so it's not the charge down. What you're talking about, so you get a kick chase, you get down the field, you jam them into a corner, and then you get your ABC defenders jam right up and into them, and then they say, no, you're offside all the time, you're going too hard and too fast, and it hurts them, and they might get concussion. Like, well, let's go and play marbles.
Tiddlywinks, mate. That's what Tana Umanga said. He said it was not tiddlywinks, is it?
Oh, superb!
Up the wires.
How good is that?
Well, it wasn't. That's the 4th loss in a row, people. Keep the faith, though. Last year, they went on an 11-3 run to end the season. Lost that last game to the Dolphins. They're going to have to do something similar, the Warriors, because at the moment, 3-1-6 is 4 behind the 500. Well, I'm going to run through a whole lot of texts here, and then we'll talk big time about the game after that. In reality, Joey Manu had an easy ride against Kosi and Pompey as they hadn't planned on playing together until Rogers' 11th hour injury. Is that some kind of an excuse to put 2 guys who were novices, hadn't played together, up against Manu and Young, who's actually back playing his best? And I gave him a carpet the other week, but who played bloody well on the weekend.
Yeah, well, you put him up against the best right side in the competition currently. You know, Manu and is just, you know, the way that he is finding Dom Young, the way that Tedesco is finding Manu down that right side. If the ball sticks a couple of times, they get another couple of tries. And I don't think it matters who you put out there on that side. The way that they're playing the Sydney City Roosters, they would have carved you up. The excuses about not having players of the calibre ready to go is where the question should really lie. Like, if you get put into the first grade side, you've got to be ready to go. Now, Adam Pompey, I think, has been hard done by this year. You know, part of me says that he should be in there before Rocco Berry. You know, he offers a little bit more on attack, even though Rocco Berry's got the I guess the work ethic, and he's always trying things. You know, he hasn't done anything wrong. Adam Pompey, he's found himself out in the backyard, not being able to get in the side. So he gets it. They decide you got to get back in there. Adam Pompey has to take that chance. Like, you wait for that chance, and what better way to take it? And then up against Joey Manu. But he's pulled your pants down.
Yeah.
You know, so you're talking about players that have been out. Unfortunately, we've spoken about this a couple of times, Marty. Injuries in teams are going to cost you. And just because the Warriors have no Roger, you know, it looks like they're going to lose Sean. I don't know why. Lussick started and Egan was on the bench. You know, and I think that Walker may be out for a couple of weeks as well. So are the other teams suffering from those type of injuries. No Trebojevic. You look at Reynolds up at Brisbane. There's no Jerome Hughes down in Melbourne. No Nico Hines played in that game as well, you know, for Cronulla. There are injuries across the board. It doesn't mean that you're a 30-point worse side. You've got to have players ready to go in this competition because injuries play a big part in it.
Okay, so winning the last 65 minutes, 18-16, what does that mean to you?
It doesn't mean, it means jack.
Okay, why does it mean jack? Is it because it's garbage time, is it?
Well, anyone who's watching the game knows that they were in second gear. Okay, they'd done enough. You look at what Sam Walker was doing. They're throwing loose balls. They went away from their structure, what they call a system, where they were just nailing the Warriors for that first 20 minutes and started to have some fun. And on the back of it, some calls, momentum calls when you're throwing and making so many errors. There was no errors in their first 20 minutes from the Sydney Roosters. They were just on top of their game. But they knew, well, you get to try, maybe another one. We'll just come back and we'll just keep it out of your reach.
Like that. It felt like they could score whenever they bloody wanted, didn't it? So, did you notice? Here's another text. We're just reading some texts here, people. Did you notice how better the Warriors played when Johnson wasn't the main playmaker or went off? Maybe Wade Egan needs to share that more. Do you agree with that?
No.
No?
Not at all. Sean Johnson's one of the premier halfbacks at the moment. I just don't think it's a Sean Johnson problem here. And I was first when Sean wasn't playing well to call him out. And even at one stage I said, you should probably tie your laces together and hang your boots up. But if you look at the way that Sean's played over the last 12 months and even the start of the season, he is still one of the premier halfbacks. But what he's got around him at the moment, we spoke to him about Zane, this about offensive structure with Zane, is very predictable. You know what I mean? Roger is not working as a centre. He is it's not coming off for him. He is, and if you wanted to, everyone, look, I was waiting for this game because they wanted Roger to be Joey Manu. So I thought, what better way for Roger to play up against Joey Manu and see whether or not he can do a Joey Manu. The thing with it was he didn't play and we saw Joey Manu. Now, I don't know if you remember, he came around from the right side centre and swept around the left hand in a sweeper's roll and put Suaalii through that hole. Suaalii went through, he got tackled by Chance Nickel-Clockstead and he handed the ball to Tedesco. Tedesco scores down that left edge. Now, can you see Roger doing that? So he comes around and he plays that type of role. They're just two different players. And for me, Roger, putting him on the wing.
Well, what changes are you going to make now? Okay, RTS is 4 to 6 weeks, they reckon. Sean could be 4 weeks. Harris Tavita 2 weeks. Walker's likely out this week. I mean, where do they go? What do they do? What does he do?
You've got to go to second grade. You've got to have players ready to come up.
But that's what you're saying. If it's your chance, next man up.
Next man up. You've got to batten down the hatches, and you've got to get back into the grind and make sure that you can live with teams. Because what happens in this competition currently, the speed was different, wasn't it? You saw Sydney Roosters. They came out, Jared's 300th game. They came out all guns blazing, just right from the get go. It was at a torrid pace.
But the Warriors have done that for several games this year. Have come out, started really well. Remember against the Sharks, we started really well. Against the Raiders, Knights, Rabbits, started well in all those games. And against Manly started well, but just couldn't convert the points.
No, and you're sitting there like 22 points, thinking, last year they came back against the Sharks and won it. But were you thinking that seriously on set?
Well, when Roger was interviewed at halftime and he said he still believed, I was thinking, I just thought that the Roosters had buttoned off like you did. Martin and Tony, when the Roosters kicked across the field for a try after the big break from their own line, it was interesting to see who was back there in cover as the try was scored. Barnett, Egan and Ford says it all.
Well, you got to remember who tackled him. So who tackled Dom Young? Martini Zalesniak. Where did he come from? The right-hand side of the field. So you're down a wing. Who's the guy beside him? They made the tackle. It was a centre. So they're chasing, Rocco and him are chasing all the way back. Right. There is no one on that right-hand side. And it's one of those coaching.
Well, what's happened to that defence? Here's another text. Why are we leaking so many points? What has happened?
Well, the pass from Sean was where the whole problem started. So the shape that they're going, and I remember, you remember they playing up the middle of the park there and Chance Nickel-Clockstead, Wade Egan jumped out to the left side and threw that ball back in and it went between the attacker and Chance Nickel-Clockstead swept behind him and picked it up in the middle and went through a hole. So they had really good structure and shape. They're throwing, the joker cards around all the time. Like they're just off. They're off. Their shape is pretty average. They haven't got the players hitting the right holes. Sean goes to throw the ball. He didn't know whether to throw it across Barnett or to Barnett, and Barnett wasn't ready. And as it pops up, it falls into Sam Walker's, these are the things that happen in a rugby game. Falls right into his hands. Sam Walker looks to his right. He's got the fastest guy in the competition there, Dom Young. And I'm telling you, for DWZ to get there, I was impressed. As soon as he handed it to Dom, I was going to shut the gate.
Another thing that's come up, and I don't know whether this is true, but this is what happens when the team loses, right? Then all of a sudden you get all kinds of rumours. People are saying, we're spotting the players out. They're drinking during the week. They're at pubs. They're staying out late.
I'll tell you what, and you know,
and I know that they have been seen at a certain pub in Ponsonby at late at night during the week. Can players still do this during the week? I'm not saying that this is why they're losing games. I'm just saying that these stories start coming out now, and it's not a good look when you've lost 4 in a row.
And these stories do start to come out. So when you start losing, people are starting to look for things, and I hope that's not true, because the answer to that question, Marty, is today's professional players, they can't recuperate, all right? And of course they weren't out last week because they'd stayed in Sydney all week, hadn't they? They're training at North Sydney all week. So if it's happening before that and it's becoming a bit of a theme, call it a theme, then they need to jump on top.
We're not saying this is true, people. I'm just addressing that because we've had many messages about it. 4 losses in a row.
Well, mate, you know what? If you go out to a bar,
you got to be seen.
You've got to be seen. You got rocks in your head if you think you can go out in Auckland. Like, it's not New York.
No, somebody's got to see you. Somebody's got to know you. Okay, 4 losses in a row, 6 now. So you've been through this. You've been through this as a player, but you've also been through this as a coach. Is there such a thing as getting into a rut, a mind rut, a hole? I bandy these words around, and it's easier in the media on this side of the microphone to say, the team is this, the team is that. Is that such a thing? Can you fall into a hole? And how the hell do you get yourself out of that?
Well, I can go back on past experience. In the blinkers, they do come on. You know, when you've got all this white noise in the background, and media plays a big part. You know, like you've got all these blokes who are on social media. I think the only bloke who isn't on social media is Montoya. But everyone else is on social media, your Instas, all your socials, your Facebooks, your Twitters and all that. So they're hearing the white noise going round and round, and it does become a bit of a downward drill into you know, that bad look. Are we really going that bad? You know, trying to get out. And this is what the coaches need to do. And it was really interesting hearing Andrew Webster talk about on the weekend, Sean, when he heard his pick, whether or not to pull him off or not. You know, we had a real long discussion about leaving him out there, bringing him on. That's when you need your coaches. You know what I mean? That's when you need your staff to say, hey, look, you know, for me, you know, I would want to know, what was the information coming up from first of all, down on the ground? Because you've got your doctor and your high performance men down there. And the second thing, why did we make that decision? Like, was it in the best interest of this club? Because the decision we made has cost us 4 weeks. Now, do you think he could have come back? I mean, that kind of injury, you don't come back from in a week, do you? See, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to work out what they thought. Can we still win it? And that would have been the question. Can we still win it? Well, we can't win it without Shaw not being out there, so let's leave him out there. By the way, it's probably going to cost us. Now, I would be all over the high performance and the doctor. Like, you know, you've got to make an assessment. That's why you have those guys sitting down on the sideline, so they can make assessments straight away and give you a call on what you need to do. And if they said, no, it's nothing, it's a bruise, pretty well fine. But if they said it's a tear in a pec, all right, and we know if you actually tear your pec or your bicep, Adam Reynolds only did this last week, you're basically gone for the season. So now they've got to hope that he comes back. I mean, and then you've got Nathan Cleary walked off on the weekend with a hamstring that came back a week too early. He's gone for Origin.
50 hamstring injuries apparently in the NRL at the moment. Good God.
Yeah.
I mean, the commentators on the weekend were saying, no, it's because the game's so fast. I don't know what it is. So Penrith is the next game. So in terms of you as a coach and putting that hat on at the moment, you're up against the defending premiers. They've won it back to back to back. Sure, they don't have Nathan Cleary, but this is a side that in second gear are winning games. What do you say to your team? How do you prepare them for that game? Then we've got the Dolphins at home, but you can't even look that far ahead at the moment. You know, you're down 3-1-7. It's starting to look dire, even making the 8 at that point. What do you say ahead of Penrith?
Yeah, well, and the thing with Nathan Cleary is he hasn't been there for a while.
You know, winning games.
They're winning games, and he's just coming back, and now he's gone again for 8 weeks. So, look, see, the difference with it is I don't think that Penrith, this is a mindset thing, and of course we were talking about the last 3 years Premier team, is that they look at it and they go, well, we don't really care who's not there. We've got a standard, and we're going to deliver this week in, week out. I think, and you know, and it's Nathan Cleary. You know, what we need to do is be able to do the same thing. Because we probably won't have Sean Johnson this week. We won't have Dylan Walker. They say that Wade Egan's going to be struggling. You know, there's some serious changes coming on.
We got another text. Martin and Tony, have the Warriors paid too much for cable? We need some players that can break the line and offload. Ben, I appreciate the question. But again, would we be asking that question were we asking it after the Rabbits? We weren't asking that question. These are all the things that come up now when you've lost 4 in a row. You start questioning every single player, don't you?
Well, you do, but you got to remember there's no Nuakure, no Cape. Well, they're the 2 edge-back rowers. So you've got Mitchie Barnett, who's been outstanding in the middle, talked about being Origin player, and we'll ask Danny about that. Is he in the mix? You know what I mean? Because I think that he's been their best player this year.
Can't make excuses for injuries, though, mate, because every team has them. You just outlined that. Nico Hines was gone for the Sharks. They still went to Melbourne.
I remember doing that stat, Marty. Sometimes you can get away with next to nothing. In other years, you're calling on, what was guys? I gave a couple of boys a debut the year in 2004. We just get so many injuries. Injuries and how you get through them is one of the big reasons you want to comp. If you don't do your roster, this is why Bellamy's so good. This is why Ivan's been so good at Penrith. And Penrith have that farm out there. So don't get me wrong, they've got players out there. They have players that step in and do the job, and the wheels keep turning. We haven't been, this is the comment that you make, we haven't earned that right yet.
Not yet, which is why I keep saying at the start of the year that making the 8 to me, which would have been a hell of an achievement. And that to me is still achievable. Do you believe that finally, before we go to Danny Buderus, can the Warriors make the 8?
I think they can. I think they can still make the 8. I think if you get Nuakure capable back, Johnson doesn't go down. I think it's an age thing with Sean. If he doesn't go down, you got those blokes back and we're all at full strength. I still think they can make a run.
Paul says, finally, Warriors fans were on a roller coaster. We go up together, we go down together, we go up together, we go down together. That is exactly right, Paul. 3:30 it is. This is the Rugby League Hour. We will break and we come back with a real superstar of the game, Danny Buderus. 339 first-grade games, 257 for the Knights. 21 times he's played Origin for New South Wales, 24 times for the Kangaroos. I'll say all this now so I don't embarrass him. Premiership winner in 2001. Dally M Hooker of the Year 3 times. Dally M Player of the Year. I mean, good God. And I've met him before. He's actually a really cool dude as well. Plus, he's heavily ensconced in the Blues Origin camp. After the break, Danny Buderus. What an absolute pleasure this is, ladies and gentlemen.
He's a lich.
There you go, Danny Buderus. That's for you. Welcome to the show, mate.
G'day, mate. How are you?
Betsy, we played that for Matty Johns a couple of weeks, mate. Remember that horse when you used to go down the sidelines at Newcastle?
Mate, it's the best. We had the great Lee Morn pass away, pretty much a founding member of the Knights back in 88. And the horse was there. Obviously, it wasn't the same horse, but the horse was there at the funeral and brought back so many memories of early days here at the Newcastle Knights.
Yeah, man. I remember Lee. He was a great man too, Lee Morn. Hey, Bedsy, just on your Knights, Kalen Ponga obviously going down injured. Mate, most thoroughbreds, they pull a hamstring every now and then, and he's pulled a few over the years, but got a couple of wins. You guys confident with him at the moment?
Yeah, it's been good. It's been a good month for us. A good probably, when you go through the season, most clubs break it up into blocks. So it's been a really good period for us. A magic round coming up against the Titans, which they had a great win last night, and they're going to be really difficult as well. So they've got some injuries. Most clubs have got their injuries and fair share, but and then we've got a bye. So go hard into this one, and we'll get into the bye.
Danny, there seems to be a group of clubs here, and I'll look at, say, Manly down, Manly, Dogs, Newcastle, St George, North Kew, Parramatta, Warriors, all now 7 or 8 clubs, which do you think are playing for that 7th and 8th spot? I mean, they're all kind of below the line, the 500, or might be just on the 500 at the moment. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, it can be deceiving a little bit, the competition ladder at the moment, with clubs not having buys and different things. There's, still a few clubs in and around that area to get their buy. And it's one of those things you try not to look at this stage of the year. It's, you try to just go game for game and keep playing ahead, and that ladder will look after itself. But you're right, there is a considerable amount of teams that are playing in and around that sort of that 4th spot to probably in around the 8 for the rest of the year.
Hey, Bedsy, look, you and Steve Price, mate, I thought were a couple of the blokes that were really good on the charge down, the kick pressure. What do you make of this Harry Grant kick pressure on the weekend? We saw it with Sean over here a few weeks beforehand, and a couple of halfbacks have they've missed some and they've got some. But this one of Harry Grant on the weekend against Cronulla, where he hasn't even got anywhere near the kicker, getting 10 minutes in the bin. Being an ex-hooker, doing that yourself, what do you think of that rule?
Yeah, it's a big part of the game. It's one of those things that all coaches are. There's such good kickers once you give no pressure to the kicker, and we all understand you can't touch the kicker, but you still got to put some pressure on. And I think at the same time that we know you can't touch the kicker in that sort of instance. So the consistency, that if you can put it in capital letters, and that's the big thing. I think any player, every coach wants is consistency, and whether or not it's a penalty to a 10 minutes in the bin, it's just a little bit of a lot of variation in and around that. So. A penalty, I guess everyone can be happy with that and move on. But if they're obviously in a really dangerous position, and obviously you're looking at a little bit more. But yeah, the one on the weekend, you could see like you said, it was just a brush, and that's the precedent now. And if that is the precedent, make it consistent and let's move forward.
The obstruction rule, frustrating as well. This just from a fan's perspective, man, where it seems that, I don't know, the tackler looks to grab that guy. Is that, does that need recorrecting, or just to at least have a re-look at it?
Yeah, I saw the one yesterday, the Warriors, the Roosters, and I think Sean caught, he scored with the ball behind his back, and yeah, they're just trying to make it, but that decision that that's the reason why, all the time, and if you do touch as a lead runner, you touch that defender, you're into the strife. So yeah, halves are getting a lot better at, because it's most of the time where the lead runner is running at is one of the smaller halves, and they're always the smarter ones on the field and can sort of play for that. But yes. Most clubs, you like to think you don't put in that sort of position. You just got to make a decision and work really hard from the inside, and as a defensive unit, and negate anything that can happen on those lead runners.
Mate, you got to win a couple of weeks ago against the Warriors. Do you think the teams have worked out the Warriors after what they did last year?
No, mate, but we went through it here for the first part of the year as well, and we had to change the way we played. Like the expectation after last year, and probably picked up, some of the. We played a really good style last year. The Warriors played an amazing style, and both teams are scoring a lot of tries. But sometimes we've had to strip it back with our Ferrari out the back a little bit now with KP. So we've got another one, Davey Armstrong. He's got some wheels as well, but. Just they're all over style of play. We've had to change and tweak a bit just based on no Dom Young, which we had last year, and so yeah, we've just had to tweak a few things. And I love watching the Warriors play, and I think everyone was all on board for the Wild last year. So hopefully they can get it sorted and get back up into some of those wins, because we need them really strong over there.
Danny, you got a big Blues man here, mate. I love him at Blues, and I'm sitting there worried as hell going into this Origin, and I know that you're highly involved in this, but Nathan's out for weeks. He won't play. Tommy Turbo's got a hamstring. Moses out as well. I mean, how worried are you at the moment about those players?
Yeah, it comes to me. We've been trying to pick our teams over here since about round 3. So one thing you don't do is pick your team until we've got 2 weeks from today. So Madge is Michael Maguire's a new coach and new setup in there, and he's got some decisions to make, but you just can't stress about too many things at the moment. Just wait for another 2 weeks and just see how everything, when all the dust settles and you've got a team in front of you of players to pick from, and some might pop up, some might struggle with injury, but yeah, there's some long-termers to some key personnel, there's no doubt. But I think just the calm heads within the New South Wales organisation just take a bit of a breather, and but we all love to sort of hype things up and polarise opinions, who's going to be in the team and whatnot. But I reckon Madge will be just a couple of deep breaths and he'll pick his team in 2 weeks.
I'm not name dropping, but Ricky Stewart said to me once in an interview, he said that he could tell an Origin player walking across the hotel foyer. He said that some guys could play Origin, not be kangaroos, and the exact opposite. You could be a kangaroo but not an Origin player. Do you think along those lines?
Yeah, that's I've never heard it like that, but yeah, obviously Sticky's and both those what those jerseys mean inside and out. So it's a good analogy. It's a good one to probably go along. And there's plenty of players that over the years that have played for Australia first, and I was one of those, Australia first, and then the Blues. And but yeah, I guess it's a different situation with from Queensland. Some of those Queensland guys that they get called on through. They talk about lack of players to pick from, but once they get that opportunity, away they go. And maybe that's where Sticky's come from with that. But New South Wales as well. We've picked players over the years that have just been real Origin players, and that's their stepping stone into Australia.
Hey, Benzie, big bike ride up to Tamworth last week. What are you doing there? Was it for charity, raising some money or something?
Mate, it was for the Mark Hughes Foundation. So we rode to Tamworth, actually. So Mark Hughes Foundation and Brian Carney, he's got a charity, his little daughter, it's called the Gand AIDS, which is a real rare disease as well. So Brian was here in 2006 and really close to our hearts. And he had 1 year here and you felt like he was here for 10 years, you know. So we rode for those two charities and had a ball along the way. And, you know, we went into those country towns and spent a bit of money and they spent a bit of money with us as well by raising some money.
Thank you so much for your time, dude. Excellent talking to you. We could do this for 20 minutes. I know you're really busy. Danny Buderus, awesome to have you on the show, mate.
No problem, man. Talk to you soon.
Thank you so much for that. All right.
Head to
Now you're getting
head.
thrashed, mate. Now you get whacked, mate. Now, I'm the Roosters here and you're the Warriors. We go head-to-head on 6 different topics. This will be over in the first 15 minutes, mate, all right? You get 30 seconds to answer yay or nay to an argument. First up, the Sharks are the best team in the NRL.
At the moment. They've got to be. They beat the Storm down there, and without Nico Hines, you know. So you've got Fitzgibbon. They're talking about they get to the back end of the season, can't beat the top 4, get bailed out of the finals. Man, I think they're actually getting some resilience about them, the Sharks. The other thing about that too is that they got players that last year weren't playing consistently across the year. If you look at Talakai, for instance, mate, he's on fire. I reckon he's a smoky for the New South Wales side. Mulatolo, he's just as good. Mate, Cronulla, they deserve to be number 1.
I meant to argue here that they're not the best. They are the best side in the NRL because they're top of the table right now. That was the win to me where they actually had to win that game, because up until then, every week I ask you this question, and every week you say they haven't proved themselves against. Well, they played a side where Cameron Munster, I thought, was brilliant in that game, and good God, if he's injured, and that's how he plays when he's injured. This guy Atkinson came on. I didn't like the little wink in getting Harry Grant, but hey, that's professionalism. He put him in the bin for 10, and the Sharks, that last kickoff they stormed through, mate. Yeah, they're going to be... Well, let's just wait and see, because we don't know, do we, Tony? And that's the thing when it comes to the playoffs. The Roosters are definitely making the top 4.
I got to agree. I think that they're back. I think Tedesco, look, the way that he's bouncing around, he's got that spring about him. Joey Manu, I think Joey Manu's a really good indicator of where the Roosters are at when he's playing at the top of his game. If you keep Joey Manu quiet, I think you keep the Roosters quiet. But if Joey Manu decides to come out and play football, man, what a loss to the game that's going to be next year. I just, you know, I hope that he can get one more before he goes, and I hope he does get a black jersey as well.
Before I argue against this, I just want to ask you about him, because you absolutely paint this guy, don't you? You think he's the best player in the world at the moment in rugby league. Why is this?
Look, I've played with some very good centres in the world, you know, like at club across Australia and over the UK. Kevin Edel and Richie Blackmore were two of the best. I've got to say that Joe Manu is up there, if not better than
those are the two guys that I would have mentioned. Similar kind of body shape, similar kind of size, but incredibly athletic, strong at being that big, and also nimble. Like, you know, normally a big guy like that takes a bit to turn. He's like a bit of a Queen Mary or something, but this guy's he can
do everything, mate.
Yeah, I agree. All right, well, I'm going to argue against it. And the reason that I say that they're definitely not making the top 4 is because I do believe that there are 3 sides that are better than the rest. And after watching that Sharks-Storm game, I think that those 2 teams showed, like the final series last year, when Penrith and Brisbane were 30 points better than everyone else. I thought those 2 teams actually played finals football. And the only reason I'll say I'll just press pause on the Roosters is because they lost to the Dogs, they beat the Knights, they lost to the Storm, they played St George, Brisbane and the Warriors. 2 of those teams, St George and the Warriors, they should have belted anyway. So I'll hold on it. But look, they've won 6 and they've lost 4.
You're still hanging on to Parramatta, aren't you?
I'm still hanging. Look, the Warriors will not make the 8.
Oh, look, I disagree. I think the Warriors still have a good chance of making the 8. I think you've got to take into account, Marty, that they've got players still coming back. And let's hope that Luke Metcalf may be one of them late. But, you know, when you've got Capewell, you've got Nuakore still to come back and strengthen up the edges, push Mitch Barnett back into the middle with Tohu Harris and Whanua Blake, and then, you know, Sean can play the type of football that he can. I think they can score points and go on a run. But in saying that, we need them all on the pitch at the same time, and that's going to be the big question. Can we get it?
I want them to make the 8, of course I do, but I'm going to run through the fixtures here, and you tell me what 11 games are going to be won here to make the 8 from this point. Penrith in the Magic Round.
I don't think so.
Dolphins at home.
You've got to say no. They beat
Cowboys
everybody.
away.
Well, they should beat them.
Storm at home.
No.
Titans away.
Well, they couldn't get them at home.
Broncos at home.
Oh, I don't think so.
Dogs away. See what's happening here, people?
They'll be fine for the 8.
Raiders away.
Well, Ricky will have them up.
Tigers at home. Thank God we've got them on the roster.
By 100.
And then the Eels after that. So there's back-to-back wins before we go to the Dolphins again. I'm looking at the fixture list.
I don't know about the Eels. Moses might be back.
I'm looking at the fixture list, and I'm going, okay, they've got to start getting 3 or 4 wins in a row. Then you can drop a game. Then you get another 3 or 4. I'm not talking about winning 11 straight.
No, I'm just hoping that they get those players back and they get a bit of confidence on the back of it, Marty, which they did last year, and they go on a run.
Benji Marshall is gone before the season ends. He's out. He's gone. He's over, mate.
Well, what do you reckon about this one?
Here we go. The guy's about to date the ugliest girl in school, and he's trying to tell us she's a glamour. This is Tony. Come on, tell us, Tony.
I'll tell you what, he's not gone. No, he's not gone. He's
gone, mate.
He's still one of the best looking girls in
He may have that, but
he's
meant to be an NRL coach.
Mate, look, Richardson ain't going to sack him. He ain't going to come in, the new CEO, and sack the coach straight away. What a disaster this club has been over the last 12 months. And
3 years.
I know, but you can't blame that on Benji Marshall.
If you're Epi Coruscant or you're Jerome Luai, are you trying to get out of those contracts right now?
Who signed them?
Well, did Benji sign them, did he?
Well, Benji signed Luai.
I mean, if I'm Jerome Luai, I'm going, okay, I'm pulling out the compassionate clause today. And the compassionate clause is because I've got no compassion for you because you're rubbish.
Do you think he can change it?
Well, he must, but the compassionate clause means you can get out of everything. I mein, that's why they have it, don't they? Benji Marshall will be gone before the season ends. They've just lost 6 in a row, mate. They're getting their triple wooden spoon. Who's going to... What, Souths are going to finish below them, are they?
Well, yes, debatable.
You had a better record than him.
Who is?
Benji Marshall. That's terrible. Okay, Cleary, Trebojevic, Moses, Origin's over already. The bloody Queenslanders are going to get us again.
3-0. Like if you're a Queenslander, 3-0. 3-0 to that wonderful maroon side that they're going to roll out against New South Wales. You know the difference about Origin is that when this happened to Queensland and they rolled out a second grade team against New South Wales, it was meant to smack them. Even when they started in 1980 with Arthur Beaton,
they beat us again.
They went out and they beat them still. But can New South Wales pick second grade players that aren't Nathan Cleary or Trebojevic and go out there and beat Queensland? I don't think so.
Tell me about Danny Buderus, because he's the guy that gives me hope, because he is absolutely New South Wales origin. And I know Brad Fittler was as well, and Madge is... I mean, mate, every time we get to the series, I approach this series and I'm desperate for us to win, and we're losing Nathan Cleary, losing Tommy Turbo, losing Moses.
Who's gonna play halfback? I know who. Benji's best mate, Brooks.
They're not bringing Luai back, mate. He can't play Origin. He's one of those guys that plays for Australia. He plays for Samoa, of course, now, but he can't play Origin, not an Origin player. Last topic. 2 laws need to be revisited: the kick charge and the obstruction.
Look, I just think they've taken the game away from the purist and making it more about adverts and fish and chips in a stadium with a beer. You know what I mean? Like, when you're watching a game of rugby league and someone gets sent off to the sin bin, like, seriously, what is a sin bin? You know, you get put
in a naughty chair, mate.
It is. Well, can you tell me that Harry Grant deserved to go to the sin bin?
No, he didn't deserve. That was ridiculous. And look, the fact that the guy winked at him, somebody has to revisit that, because he's obviously he's milked the penalty.
There is no criteria about sending people to the sin bin, and I think they need a system to make sure that it's severe enough to send them there.
We're arguing the same thing here, and there's a damn good reason for that, is because also the obstruction law. We saw it was short. Look.
There was a try for Sean.
There was a try. There, no question, was there?
There's a. Mate, the thing is, when you talk about it, do they get to the attacker? That's the question. Can Sean from that position beat the attacker if he's there?
So why is it so goddamn hard and fast then? Why can't there be some discretion from the bunker there?
Because you've got people making rules up. They've never played the game. They actually want to know whether or not Sean would beat that defender.
It's obvious to everyone watching it, Tony.
Yeah, we do, eh? We know.
Well, I'm just a goose on a couch watching a game of footy. That's all I am, mate, and I can see it.
Too structured.
The Ifluix Cleanup Award.
This beautiful product from Effluix. What you do, all of you live on the land. You got your ponds there and effluent ponds, and you need to clean that up. Well, this product goes in and it turns that effluent into the gold. And every week, Tony pulls out an award, and it can be for a player or a team that's gone down that dark path and ends up coming back dripping in it.
Well, I don't know if you remember this, but it would have to be 10 or 12 years ago. A big young front rower ran into a Tigers back rower, and got absolutely smashed. I think it was one of the biggest hits that we've ever seen, and you can YouTube it. It was Jared Waerea-Hargreaves, and got back up. He was pretty groggy, took him off, and came back and played 300 games in the NRL. And I thought on the weekend, I had a big think about this one, Marty. I think he's picking that award up this week for me. Someone, you got to remember, Marty, this guy could have been a professional golfer. So he's in 2010 when I spoke to him, he was on a 2 handicap. You know what I mean? He could, and the giant of a man, he could go out there and caress that ball around and then go out on a football field and be such a menace. I'm just so happy that he got to 300. I still think there's life in the old dog. I don't think we'll see that this is the end of Jared Waerea-Hargreaves. I think he'll play a couple more years up in Super League.
I just wish he wouldn't do the elbow to the head kind of stuff.
He's a front rower, mate. Like you should get in the bunker. Seriously, you'd be perfect for that job because you got no idea what's going on.
And they've got an overlap here.
TK's Top 5.
That's so true. That's so absolutely true. The way the top 5 sits at the moment: Sharks, Panthers, Storm, Dolphins, Roosters.
Number 5.
And do I keep throwing the Dolphins one more bone? I'm going to throw them at 5.
Can you hear the Broncos thing coming in from over there? The Broncos, mate. No, everyone's forgotten about the Broncos.
Look, and Ezra Mann was on fire. I've got to say that. Ezra Mann was on fire. He's probably going to he probably will make an Origin debut this year. I don't know what game it'll be in, but he'll probably make an Origin debut, Ezra Mann. But, man, I've got to give the Dolphins some credit here. They've been hanging around there in that top 5 all year. And they get 5 today.
No, they're 4.
Number 4.
Well, the Roosters are back, and I think out of the Roosters and the Sea Eagles, you got to fancy the Roosters, don't you? Like the Sea Eagles.
I don't know what's wrong with Manly, mate. For what they flatter to deceive is what they do to me.
You know, the Sea Eagles are like the Titanic. You know, they are big and flashy and look great, and then they hit something and just sink. You know what I mean?
You always loved that apartment of yours out in Manly, didn't you? You loved that one when you weren't living in Vaucluse.
But the Roosters, mate, talk about apartments. They've each got one.
3.
Oh, well, they lost, but I'm gonna stick with the Storm. I still think, they lost because they had Jerome Hughes missing. Yeah.
Tell you what, the new boy wasn't bad, though.
Peppenhausen.
Who was the...
Logo. He goes all right, the speedy boy. And they still only got beat by a bad referee call. Who was the new boy that was replacing Hughes? I wrote his name down. I thought... Wishart.
Damn, he was good. Mate, he was bloody good, mate.
And I think if you're looking for a halfback, you get straight into Wishart's... we're looking for a halfback, aren't we?
Well, obviously...
Straight to his manager and say,
where's he going? Cleary, but yeah, I mean...
Yeah, well, he ain't going to... Jerome Hughes, they're talking about, wanted to go back up to the Gold Coast. Maybe go to the Dolphins, because his wife's from Queensland. He ain't going anywhere, mate.
Number 2.
Well, Panthers have to stay there. I can't believe I'm doing this. I can't believe I'm putting who on top. But I reckon the Panthers, even with Nathan Cleary out, we're up against them this week in the Magic Round. I just think they're going to be too good for us this week. We'll be limited in numbers. We'll have a bunch of kids running around who'll compete for 20, 30 minutes. But the Panthers, when you've got that type of experience over the last 3 years that know how to just grind you into the ground and win games. I think
you mentioned it before on the show.
Three at the moment.
You mentioned before on the show. You talked about the farm or the factory that they've got behind. They've lost, as I said, Coruscant. Jerome Luai's going to go. They lost Villamale, Kiko. I can't remember who the other guy is that they've lost. Crichton. They've lost. They've lost those guys. Those are 4 players that every other team would want and say, yes, I want all of those guys and select in my team. Right? They've actually. 3 of them have already gone. One of them, and they're still winning games, and they still win games without Nathan Cleary.
And winning premierships.
So that's
not just games.
That's the standard, which basically says, and this is, I suppose, as a Warriors fan, maybe we jump a little early on this, because that's where you've got to get to. You've got to make the finals year after year, and you've got to have that in the background.
I'm going to make a point here because
number one's the Sharks.
Number 1.
Number one's the Sharks. Number one's the Sharks, and I think Fitzgibbon and the boys they deserve this. So Nico Hines not being in that game, I gave him no chance against the Storm. I think we'll go down there, but I didn't know they had a 18th man dressed out there in Specsavers clothes. Forgot the Specsavers and put Harry Grant in the best player on the football field in the centre. Come on.
Yeah, no, that's just soft as. And it changes the game, mate.
It does. But I just want to go back to this one point, because Ivan Cleary made a point the other week that Panthers should be compensated for losing all these players. So I don't know if you saw that. Welcome to our world, Ivan. All right. New Zealand has not been compensated for players that have gone in and kept this NRL together. You know what I mean? So if he's raising a point, don't forget the amount of Kiwi players that have actually made the NRL. And this national game over here has suffered because the NRL don't pay for it. So the answer to Ivan's question around we should be compensated for losing players, mate, pay the main boys first. Pay the big boys, which is New Zealand, before you pay the Panthers.
We're going to be sitting here doing the Rugby League Hour next week, and it's probably going to be 5 losses in a row. And I don't think there's a single pundit. Look, the TOB will put $1 on Penrith here, won't they?
Ooh, I don't think you'll get a bet on. If you're looking to have a punt, Brian Toole first try score is probably your best bet.
So after that, it's the Dolphins at home. Look, Warriors fans, don't give up. And I say this because last year, and you go through those results, remember we were 5-5 last year, Tony. I mean, I think because of the season the Warriors had, it's easy to think, we were in the 8 or we're in the 4 the whole season. No, we weren't. We were 5-5, and then we got on that massive run. And then we won Eels, Sharks, Raiders, Titans, Tigers, Manly, St. George. We won 7 in a row, right?
We only lost one on the way home in the last 6 or something. But the other thing, Marty, and people forget this, is they were all playing to the top of their ability.
Yeah, right.
Like, there was not one player that came into that side and wasn't performing to the best of his ability. And at the moment, you got to say, if you're looking across that side, the wingers are struggling. Look at the centres at the moment. Well, these two on the weekend, they were pretty average. Your 5'8's not really firing. Your halfback's injured. You got 2 back rows sitting in the injured list, and you've got front rows playing out on the edge. You know,
well, but isn't this the opportunity for a young boy to just seize his day, isn't it? I don't know, mate.
Laban, they've given him a crack out there on the left edge. You pull him in, pull him out. He'll go straight back in there this weekend, probably.
I bought this whole, myth that when we bought Fisher Harris, it's like, oh my God, the squad's now a premiership-winning squad.
He had a halfback. You remember? So what's Fisher's job?
Well, he's to buff and barge and smash his way through.
Yeah, well, how many tries is he going to score? It's like for like. Like, if they want to win a premiership, I think they need a few more blokes that can actually score points and stop them.
How important, though, is just to get the next W? I mean, this is where you've been in this situation before where you start losing games and it just becomes cumulative, doesn't it? It's just all of a sudden, it just weighs you down.
Oh, look, what I'm really looking at here is Andrew Webster. Daily M Coach of the Year last year with the Warriors and the run that they had.
This is where he earns his pay, right?
Yeah, and I'm looking to see, right, okay, well, mate, fairy tale last year and right there riding the wave, and yeah, it was really, I like him. He's transparent, and now I'm just sitting here thinking, mate, Roger on the wing? Seriously. Like, come on, man. No, Roger's not a winger. Put Roger at fullback. Move Chance up and now start. If you want to experiment with Roger, experiment with Chance. You give it the same type of feel. You might actually realise that Chance is Manu. You know what I mean? He may be that player that can go around and float around and do things like that.
We've got about a minute to go. What do you say to the players, though, who've just lost 4 in a row and they're about to play Penrith? Do you say, forget that it's Penrith, just get out there and actually play? Well,
they've got to rely on the system. That's what you do all your off-season training for. Okay, so you rotate all those blokes in your second grade through your side, and they're just waiting for the opportunity. Okay, so maintain a level of confidence with them and don't let them get too anxious and burn up all that nervous energy, and keep them in the game and the system for as long as possible. Because you're coming up against a Penrith side that know how to grind you into the ground. And you make an error, and you let them score a try, they're going to make you make another error, and they're going to come back and score another try, and they will bury you.
The man just set up the try.
That was the Rugby League Hour, brought to you by MicroBio Solutions Limited, solving environmental issues using green technologies. Visit microbio.co.nz.
It started with a Mitchell try.